Welcome to Toast and Jams, T.
Hello.
How do you like to be? What do you like to be called, actually?
I think I like to be called T-Day, actually.
T-Day.
Yeah.
And that's T-I-D-E.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. I've just been calling you T because...
But that's because I used to tell people to call me T because that was like my stage name. But now I don't feel like I need a stage name.
Don't.
Just like, can't bother. Just
I
call me
appreciate
T-Day.
that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And T-Day is a great name.
Thank you.
It's a nice name.
It means your joy has come.
Oh, nice.
You're
I like
welcome.
that a lot. All right, well, welcome, T-Day, to Toast and Jams.
Hey.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I kind of bumped into you online and really liked what you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's good to have you on. I've also noticed a lot of people I follow sharing and saying the same thing. And I was like, she's going to be on the podcast soon. And they're like, oh, cool. So I think Timberland is also
he's a
fan.
mutual.
Yeah. So what happened with Timberland actually just whilst we're on that?
He just reached out. He was like, hey, T-Day, how you doing? I was like, I'm fine, thanks. Like, what have you been up to? He's just like, yeah, just
want to be on a tune?
Yeah, he asked me actually.
Oh, wow.
But I was busy. It was a Tuesday.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
I was busy setting up stuff for my bedtime.
In the morning. Yeah.
No, that was just a random. I don't really know how that happened. Some girl just sent me a DM of that video, and I didn't know. He didn't tag me.
He should have.
I know, naughty.
That's naughty.
But yeah, so I found it through just someone sharing it with me.
Yeah.
I was like, okay,
wow,
that's strange. Also, Jojo.
Who's Jojo?
Not Jojo Siwa. Jojo, get out right now. It's the end of you.
You might have to sing it a bit more.
How do you not know that song? That's the main bit.
Let's sing it again.
Get out. Right now, I'm not shy.
I don't know. I know the name Jojo, though.
It was a big song back in the day.
Vibes,
yeah, but then she had like issues with the music industry. And
surprise,
she signed a contract when she was young, and then she couldn't make music for like 10 years.
Oh, right.
So that's probably why you don't remember her.
Oh, okay. That's a sad story.
It is a bit.
So we like to get guests to bring a drink on the show to toast with. What have you brought today?
Brought some ginger kombucha.
Nice.
Yeah.
Healthy.
Yes.
Should we cheers?
Cheers.
Let's get that going. It's nice and cold as well.
I love that sound. Cheers, Alex.
Cheers.
Oh, that was a very low sounding
It
clink.
was anticlimactic.
A little bit.
Feels like
doesn't have that rawness.
an adult drink.
Kombucha though.
No?
You know, kombucha usually tastes, because it's like fermented, it usually tastes a little...
This seems a bit more mass markety.
Yeah.
It's very sweet. Campbell's joining in off camera. Let us know what you think, Campbell.
Good? Nice. He approves.
Okay, a thumbs up. Century green tea I approve of in there.
Okay.
And ginger and turmeric.
Let's go through this.
Just not
Black
the sugar.
pepper.
I just think you can just allow the sugar. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm trying to scale. The reason why I said kombucha was because my gut is acting up. And I feel like the older you get, you just start to think about health in a more strategic way.
Sure.
Because when I was younger,
yeah,
I ate shit. Can we swear?
Yeah, me too.
I ate a lot of shit. Like, I wouldn't think about the Haribos I'm eating. Like, my eating habits are very erratic. I'm not very structured as a person generally. So, like, it's reflected in my eating habits. And I would eat, like, 5 Haribo packets. Milano slices from Sainsbury's were, like, a hyperfixation at one point.
Wow.
And I would just, like, eat that, like, just stuff.
Yeah.
And I was fine. I didn't have any issues with my gut. And then recently in the last year, I've just had like stomach issues.
Okay. But so, you're still in your 20s.
I'm still late 20s. So,
yeah, you're doing okay.
Maybe it's catching up to me quicker because of how bad I was.
Just cold meats and Haribos. Just wrapping Haribos in cold meats.
I am not even joking. I might as well have done that because I used to just do that.
Wow.
It was weird. Like,
that's definitely an hors d'oeuvre.
Like, yeah. I had a lot of strange habits.
I've got some facts about kombucha for you.
Oh, no.
No, some good facts. Good ones. Some interesting ones.
Okay.
Like stuff. Right. I'm always really interested to learn these little facts because it's just stuff you didn't know.
Yeah, me too.
Do you know what year it originated in and where?
Oh.
To test.
Okay, kombucha. It's giving Asia.
Yes.
I don't know where. Let's say, pointing to.
Wait.
Okay, never eat shreddy wheat. Never eat. West.
Yeah.
East.
Do you want to be put out your misery?
Yes, please.
China.
Okay.
In 2020 BC.
Oh, wow.
That's a long time ago.
That is a long time ago.
And then spread to Japan, Russia, and other parts of the world via many guts.
I'm just thinking of
Healthy
the timeline.
guts.
I have to I'm a very visual person. So when you say 2020 BC, I'm imagining
all the wars that happened.
Everything, trying to put it in context of everything. Feudalism was there. This was the Roman Empire.
I can't do that.
Really?
You've probably got a good understanding of history to do that.
I have a mediocre understanding of history. I did a deep dive recently, so that's why I'm able to
in world timeline.
Kind of, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I got really
How
into
long did
feudalism.
you spend doing that?
A month.
Cool.
Yeah, it came about because I set up this thing called Reeducate, and it's basically a education for regular people, learning for adults, basically.
Yeah.
Because we don't really have time to learn in a structured communal way anymore after school. And even school's a bit shit for other reasons, but
many
reasons, actually.
Yeah.
So I set that up in 2020, and this February I wanted to bring it back to learn what capitalism was properly, instead of just the airy-fairy definitions that we have floating around, and people, I hate capitalism because of this, and I love capitalism because of this.
Wasn't it based on actual land ownership first, right?
Yes, exactly.
That's the kind of roots of its evil.
And it has it's a lot more layered than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went into the research, I thought, before we had whatever we have now of capitalism, whatever that means. Now I know, but before I didn't know. I thought before that we just had trade by barter, and it was very it was a simple before and after.
That's the image that capitalism likes to portray of itself as its roots.
Yeah.
But
then I learned about feudalism.
Right.
So I learned all of this.
What's feudalism?
So feudalism was a period, let's see if I remember, so the collapse of the Roman Empire happened, and then especially in Western Europe, we were okay, how do we set up our society if we're not in this sort of city-states Roman Empire thing that we had going on?
Yeah.
So let's have a lot of hierarchy, a strict hierarchy where we have the king, and we didn't have that kind of formalized structure before. We had a more democratized way of existing in the Roman Empire. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's still hierarchies, but feudalism goes, okay, so we'll have the king. The king owns all of the land. But why? Because God told...
Because God
said.
Just that's it, full stop.
Because God. And God's
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Have my stuff.
So the king was just that's mine because God, yeah. And then everyone was fine.
Yeah, makes sense. Good argument.
And then he just appointed people down the hierarchy, the lords and all the the landowners,
and then
landlords.
You because God.
Yeah.
You because God.
God gave me the power, and I'm just gonna give this to you because
my mate,
my
exactly. Son, my cousin.
So you get that hierarchy, and then it just trickles down to the peasants right at the bottom, which obviously is the mass. And it all, as you said, came down to land ownership. So that's the base of the trading. It wasn't what we have now, which is money as the core symbol of value. And then in feudal times, it was land was the exchange. And the knights were very important because they would protect for wars and all that shit that's going on. So then you have this different system that came out because of a collapse of an old system. And then you get the Enlightenment period where all these philosophers were thinking, this is kind of unfair. Let's give power back to regular people. And that happened because more people were trading with faraway countries. I had more knowledge back in the next time. Now everything's gone back into the cloud of my memory. But because people were trading, you get this new elite of people who now have more money, and money becoming more of the the base of trading, not just land.
Mm.
So feudalism died down because of the land was becoming less important and money was becoming more of the common trade. So then these new elites now want to have power and like decide how things are organized. Anyway, long story short, it was interesting to see how it's not just been money isn't just this thing that has always existed. It's the stories that we tell ourselves and like the communal imagination that we buy into, and the stories that the philosophers, the people who are thinking about the economy and economists. I always struggle to say that word, economists, and those people telling the stories in their subject changed how we now relate to one another and how we organize our society. So basically I did that deep dive on capitalism. And it was really interesting.
What do you think of the revelations of King Charles and all the land that they're charging, like charities that they
tell me
run?
more. I don't know anything about
that. Came out in the news, like, I mean, you know,
I'm listening.
a couple of days ago or something. Just how like they charge charities like the RNLI to launch boats because the boats cross their beaches and they charge them like 800,000 a year or something, and then the NHS they charge like a couple mil a year.
What, the royal family are charging people?
They're charging charities and national services to operate on their land.
What?
Yeah.
In recent times?
This came out like a couple of days ago.
Shit.
Yeah, man, it's a bit of a
That's
controversy.
Crazy.
It's mental. Abolish the royal family, you know,
big
and
time.
the monarchy. Anyway,
big up.
All right, so that's kombucha started in 2020 BC. Ingredients, we don't need to go into ingredients really. Health claims. Some claim that kombucha can help with a variety of health issues, including digestion, inflammation, and reducing the risk of cancer. However, there's limited scientific evidence to support these claims.
What?
Yeah. So
I was trying to heal my Haribo and Milano slice tummy.
Afraid. And there are some risks: stomach upsets, infections, allergic reactions, kidney toxicity.
All right,
as
Alex,
I said,
that's enough.
So yeah, I mean, there's a few other facts, but I'd like to move on to your song choice.
Okay.
Which is Paramore. Ignorance.
Big time.
Why have you chosen? So hold on, this tune came out in 2009.
Yeah.
In July. The lead single from their studio album, Brand New Eyes.
Yeah. That's
Why did you choose this song today?
It was the most influential album of my like teenage years. I think it was the only album that I actually learned the lyrics to all the songs.
Yeah.
And I had the CD because CDs were dying out. Right.
I was about to say 2009. Was that still CD time?
It was still CD time.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
It was still CD time because I went to, I forgot the name of the shop. Yeah, I had like pink and black. I can't remember. Bought the CD and...
HMV.
Yes.
I was like, what is that? HMV.
Yes, HMV. And I bought the album and had like a CD player in my room. And I just remember... I think teenage angst needs a release.
100%. I mean,
music is a great way.
I hadn't really listened to that song, but I did yesterday. And I was like, yep, teenage years.
Yeah, 100%.
Encompassed.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think Paramore has this Paramore has this timeless energy for me, in the sense that there's some songs that you listen to when you're young and it works for that time. But when you get older, you can only listen to it maybe once in a while and it's like a reminiscing song.
Yeah, whereas, nostalgia.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like that album to me has a lot of teenage angst in it, but also I connect to art, music or whatever that has a raw human quality to it, and when I listen to the lyrics and the emotion that she put into the song in every aspect, in the songs in every aspect, I think it just follows me through each stage of my life.
Would you say you're more a lyrics and voice person than music and melody person, instrumentation?
I don't think I'm one or the other. I think it's both. It's everything.
Right? Yeah,
but the one like the songs that connect to me most have meaning. So like the lyrics are important for the songs that really are like precious.
Yeah.
But I love songs that even if they don't really have much meaning, as long as they can make me like
Crazy Frog, for example.
Crazy Frog. No, Crazy Frog. That's a throwback.
Yeah. I surprised myself with that one.
Yeah.
So looking back to when Ignorance came out, 2009, what was life like for you at that time?
Oh my God.
Where to begin?
Where to begin? Yeah, I feel like I was just in the dark a lot. Like, I think now I understand myself in hindsight, but that period for me was not understanding who I was and feeling confused by how people human and how I didn't understand. I was mimicking people a lot and in social situations, and I didn't really understand my place in the world. And I think a lot of people can resonate with that, especially
teenage years. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think added by the fact that as a person, I think I existed in the middle of different subcultures. Like, so my parents are pastors and very religious family upbringing.
Right.
And then I went to a like working class all girls school where it wasn't very religious. It was just kind of like a normal school.
Was it quite rowdy?
It was very rowdy. Miss, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That kind of energy. Like, and then also on top of that, like Nigerian heritage family, like my sisters, I was born in Nigeria, my sister was born in Nigeria.
Yeah.
But my whole family kind of lived there longer than I did. I was the one that grew up in the UK in my formative years.
How did that happen? How did that kind of split happen?
Yeah, so my sisters are like roughly 10 years older than me, and I'm the youngest.
Yeah.
So we lived in Nigeria and then moved to Tanzania when I was around 3, 4, and then moved to Preston when I was like...
Land of opportunity.
Yeah. That's what we dreamt of when we crossed over. Oh, the Spa shop near my house in Preston. Spa. Do you know Spa?
I do.
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah, they were solid.
Like, you know,
solid corner shop.
Like the UK.
Yeah. But yeah, Preston was like a far cry away from Tanzania.
Yeah.
When we lived there, because that's where we moved from.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like did year 1 in Preston. So I grew up in like I had a northern accent and everything, and then we moved to London when I was in year 5.
Okay.
So a lot of difference merging.
Loads of change, and also you're being put under. It doesn't have to necessarily be intentional pressure, but you're being put under pressure to adapt quite quickly.
Absolutely.
And repetitively. So from Tanzania to Preston, and then just a year in Preston, you said?
No, year 1 to year 5.
Oh, okay, right, cool. Yeah,
year 1 to year 5, and then year 5 moved to London.
Do you remember do you remember feeling when you did the second move from Preston to London? What was were you okay about it?
I was so upset.
Yeah, because you made friends at that point.
Yeah, I had a very good group of like core friends. I was, dare I say, very popular in primary school. I was
can believe that.
The it girl. But it was like I had a very good, solid group of friends, and like I had my best friend Abigail, and we would like.
You still friends now?
No, we're not. But we have each other on Instagram.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, at least there's a link.
Yeah,
still.
there is. And like we saw some pictures of us when we were younger, and we had sleepovers and stuff. And I never had sleepovers with anyone apart from Abigail. So yeah, I was really upset when we moved to London. I remember sitting in my tiny room in London, looking out the window and being like, listening. I think I was listening to Lost and Insecure.
I don't know this one.
How do you know? What do you listen to back in the day?
I'm a bit older than you, so you know.
But then I would expect you to know those.
I don't want to draw the age card, but I just did. Yeah. Wait. So this is what year is this then?
That's still like early 2000s.
I was listening to like grime.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you were listening
drum and
to
bass.
emo music.
No. Yeah, that was like peak grime time for me, and like still garage as well at that point, but also a bit of jungle drum bass and all them things there.
Imagine if I was listening to that as 9-year-old.
Yeah, very different walks of life at that time.
Yeah.
So what was it like when you moved to London? It was
was a
bit culturally a bit of a culture shock as well. Where did you move to in London? Was it south?
Yeah, south.
Yeah.
Still where I am now. So I moved back into my parents' house and like seeing my primary school and everything.
Yeah.
It wasn't a culture shock. It was just like I lost the community I had. But I just remember feeling like really sad. And wondering how I was going to adjust. And also it was the beginning of year 5, year 6 was like the beginning of like puberty for me. I started very early. So I was then changing in terms of like my body and like the way my mind worked in relation to social situations and everything. So it was a mad time. It is a mad time.
Hormones just like running rife through the brain.
But it's funny because I don't remember. I don't know about you, but I don't really remember childhood vividly.
No, but it's interesting. Like my therapist is always trying to get me to work out why, because a lot of people do.
Yeah, I was surprised.
I had the same thing. It's not very clear.
No,
it's quite blurry.
Yeah,
teenage years is like crystal.
Really,
like I've got from about 11 up. It's crystal clear for me. But yeah, before that, no.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I would say for me it was like 15, 16. Like I think sixth form up, I can remember.
The fog cleared.
Yeah, the
hormonal fog cleared. Maybe
did
things
you
balanced out.
Dissociation, or were you dissociated as a kid?
What does that mean? What do you mean?
Like kind of were you kind of not present in?
Not as far as I'm aware.
Okay, interesting.
Not as far as I'm aware. Yeah,
because I think for me, I think why I don't remember was because I get dissociated a lot. So that means I'm like not, sometimes my head's in the cloud. I'm always in my own world kind of thing.
I mean, yeah, I had a bit of that, but a lot of kids do though, right? I mean, it's the kind of part of being a kid.
Yeah, but then some people, I think the people that remember their childhoods a lot, like one of my friends, she remembers very vividly, but she is someone who is quite grounded and organized, and the friends that remember tend to be kind of type A kind of
I
friends.
see, yeah, because I'm not that grounded or organized.
Me neither.
So that makes sense then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if there's a connection there, but like I find that
sounds good.
It sounds good.
Sounds like there's a connection there. You know, it makes sense anyway.
Yeah, it's an official diagnosis.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
But yeah, I think that as a person, I'm quite like clutter-minded, quite head in the clouds. I think that's in my creative like practice. That is how I access the stuff that I make, is by being in the sort of ether in my mind, and like I'm not aware sometimes that I have hands or what I look like. I just get in the cloud, if that makes sense.
Yeah, spiritual realm.
Yeah.
So what kind of at what age did you realize that creativity was something that was important to you, but also something that you kind of wanted to explore?
I'd say tangibly when I was probably in year 10, year 9, year 10.
Yeah, what age is this now? Because I kind of forget what
I
age
don't
we're
know.
at.
I just know the years. I think I was probably 14, 15.
Okay, right. Yeah. Would you remember something like a piece of work that kind of triggered it, or something you admired, you know?
So I started my blog when I was 15.
Okay, yeah, because that was kind of peak. Mid-noughties is like peak blog time.
Blogspot, that kind of, blogger and all that kind of stuff. So but at that point it was more for fashion, and I was always sketching since I was a kid. Like back in the day, I was the bubble writing kid. You know, the bubble writing kid in like school, where they would be like, oh, can you do my things for me? And they're like, oh wow, so good. Like, that was me in Preston.
Right, okay.
And it wasn't really that impressive, but people were like hyped me up. So like in primary school and high school, I would always like be sketching with pen and paper, like faces. I love drawing faces a lot, but it didn't have meaning. There wasn't like a thought process behind it.
Practice.
Yeah, just because I wanted to like draw accurately what I was seeing.
Faces are the hardest as well.
Really? I find it the easy. I find animals the hardest.
Okay.
Yeah, animals and landscapes I find really hard.
Landscapes. Tricky.
Yeah. And I find landscapes kind of boring to draw.
Yeah.
Whereas faces have a lot of emotion in them. And I think that's like the basis of most of the work that I do. But yes, but art seriously was, or like, not seriously, but art is like a thing a project I was really interested in doing was during my blogger days, where I was setting up my site and posting about charity shop finds, but it was more in the form of writing back in the day.
So just sharing life.
Yeah, sharing life.
Through writing.
Yeah. And then I would talk about mental health, fashion, and whatnot. So that's kind of how it's
just started. Stuff that was happening for you, basically.
Yeah.
Basically. Okay, cool. So did you know at that point that you were kind of, did it feel cathartic to be sharing and
100%.
Yeah.
But no one was watching.
No. How did you know? Did you have a kind of like
there was
stat counters? And
I think there was.
Yeah.
But I didn't check it that often.
I mean, it certainly is not the same as Instagram, where like these people have like this, and
there's
this is how many people...
red arrow, green arrow. Like, I want to see that. No, back in the day, I think there still was a counter, but I don't think anyone was watching.
Right.
So I felt a lot of freedom to just express, or
a good way to start out.
I think so too.
Because you can make your mistakes without feeling too judged or whatever. Or I say mistakes, but feel your way.
Yeah.
And work out, not in the eyes of a lot of people.
Yeah, no, I think it's important too as well, because I feel like when you start knowing that people are watching, you're not even really connecting to your own personal voice. Like the making mistakes is part of it, but also listening to what it is, the compass inside of what it is that you actually want to make and experiment with and feel free. Whereas like when people are watching you, you can have this sort of man in your head or person in your head that wants to push you in certain ways because you think, oh, how is this going to be perceived, or how can I make this good, or like you start to think of this external,
who's gonna like this,
like why
are they gonna
what's
like
the
it?
why behind it.
Oh, God,
whereas like
some of the worst music I've ever made has been based off that drive of like, I hope they like this, or who's gonna like it, and it should be for these people, and then you just end up like you don't like it.
Exactly. And when it starts to be tailored to other people's perception, or potentially other people's perception, which is a funny thing because you can't verify what from, because you don't have the vantage point to other people's heads. So it's like you're assuming to be someone else in your mind to tailor, but then it's like, if you can't verify it?
And also, if you're the creator and you're trying to step into someone else's shoes to create, then you're not creating honestly from a place. Creation has to be from you in the most open, flowing way possible, right? Without any kind of hindrance on your experience, your whole life experience.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to take yourself out of the process, then you're not doing it properly already.
100%.
Yeah. So
for me, a big word is authenticity.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And I think people that see my work recently that's the word they use. It's like it's authentic, and I think that's really because that's a value for me.
Definitely. I would agree. I think that's like the thing that caught my eye the most, or like resonated the most was just the authenticity and honesty of your work. It was just like, oh yeah, I relate straight away. And I think good art doesn't have to be relating, because good art can be you can be completely unrelatable, but
Yeah.
but as long as they have delivered it in a way that you get it. So like, you don't have to have the same life experience as someone else to get their art, you know. But good art is when it's easily relatable, I guess.
I think it's about connection, isn't it?
Yeah.
That relatability is for me, I've always thought of art as a means, a vehicle to understand myself.
That's the first thing.
The first thing, yeah. So
sure.
then if I'm thinking, how is someone else going to do, I'm already not, it's not a conversation between me and myself. It's like, I'm trying to now add someone else in the chat who I don't even know.
And the funny thing is that if you do that, the other people aren't going to get it.
Exactly.
As well as if you actually just do it with the conversation with yourself.
Do you know, the mad thing is the things that I post are like the most raw, and I'm like, probably no one's going to fucking like this. I posted without thinking. Now you got
Timberland making funny faces. Timberland making funny faces on your video.
Like,
just like pointing and going, touching his chin and going, nodding.
It's so crazy. Like, yeah, that's like, I'll post a TikTok that's literally, maybe I'm.
So was it on TikTok that Timberland did that or Instagram?
No, it was Instagram.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it was Instagram.
Just to make it clear.
But yeah, no, sometimes I would just post like a throwaway thing that I think of it as a throwaway because I'm just like, maybe I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling this emotion and I'm trying to decipher it. So I'm crying as I'm just like, just to try and understand myself or what is I'm feeling, if I'm feeling sad or whatever. And then I'll just post it and then like, oh, I related. I'm like, I wasn't aiming for relatability with but the ones that I'm like, okay, I'm tailoring it. I want it to like, how do people feel when they feel sad? They feel this and this and this. And then I'm tailoring it. If ever I get into that state of mind, it doesn't have that truth.
It's not going to hit in the same way.
It doesn't have that truth to it.
Yeah.
So
but it's also really like, it's really interesting to see someone using Instagram, and I'm not on TikTok, so I don't really know it so well, but using that medium really like creatively and as its own art vehicle, you know, to connect and relate, because it doesn't happen. It's also the one thing that kind of Instagram it takes away from your life is connection. And like, you know, so I think when you see someone like yourself that's using it against it's almost its own like purpose to do something good, it's really cool.
Thank
do you
you.
know what I mean? So yeah. A lot of your videos, especially with the kind of like the hand-drawn animation stuff, has got quite a dreamlike and playful kind of feel. Like, how did you develop? Does that come from your sketches when you were sketching as a kid, and like how did that kind of style develop? Like, yeah, or just the playful vibe of your videos that you post.
So as I said, a lot of the things that I make just it's like a purge.
Yeah, sure.
So there's not really well, in the past anyway, there's not really been a conscious approach to the things I make. But I will say that things that get me inspired tend to have some form of childlike qualities to them. Like the comics that I draw and stuff, I like things that feel like a child could have made them, or it's playful. For me, that is where I get creative bursts of energy, is when it's experimental and playful and it's fun, even if it's talking about really like poignant topics, or even if it's like mental health stuff or depression. Like, I think there's a duality to life like when I see that duality to life expressed in art is what I find really refreshing. So a playful childlike quality talking about something
very adult,
heavy, very adult stuff.
Well, it's making it accessible. I guess. But do you think there's a connection between your own childhood and the voice that you choose to work with now, being the kind of the way that you're delivering information and sharing very heavy, deep stuff in the voice of a child? Do you think there's some kind of connection that you're allowing your child self to kind of
I've never
heal through that, do you think?
I've done a lot of inner work, like inner child work in the past, but I've never connected my artistic output to the voice of my childhood self, which is quite an interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's an expression of her, but I do know that I admire children a lot. Like to me, I see the purity of art being in a child's
totally.
expression, because you get all the bullshit that we've kind of all bought into as we get older. We kind of play into it.
I feel like all kids have it, and it's like literally like across the board. It doesn't matter what kind of personality, style, or whatever, but all kids have it, and then just some let it get beaten the hell out of them.
Yes.
Not beaten out of them. That's the wrong term.
But no, it's true.
But,
I think life does do that.
It like gets repressed. Some allow the repression to happen, and some don't. And the ones that don't are successful with their creativity. The ones that do are like, I'm not creative. I'm just going to do a 9 to 5. And no, I can't do that. And it's like, well, actually, every single person had the ability in the first place.
I believe that myself. I think everyone is creative. And funnily, I think there's just the boldness that children have. It's thoughtless. And it's like, it's very powerful and freeing. And it's something I definitely admire. I was on a ferry in Croatia for my birthday last year, and I met this. I was like sketching on my iPad, and I met this girl, and she sat next to me, and we started talking. And I like invited her to draw. Like I was like, "How about you doodle something in here as well?" Like so, then I can add it to my I can maybe create something out of your creation. And I was like, it can just be like a messy scratch or whatever. It doesn't have to be a Mona Lisa. But she couldn't do it. She couldn't. The
pressure was too much.
It was too much. But I was like, just a line. A line. And then I didn't want to push too much. So I was like, okay.
Making it a thing.
Yeah, I don't want to make you...
Do it.
Literally. I was like, let your inner child breathe.
Do it or I throw you over the edge of the boat.
But then I think that moment made me reflect on that process of losing... Like, as you get older, you kind of lose the audacity, the freedom to just do something. It doesn't matter if you're not good. Like,
but you kind of go through. It's like from speaking of a place of like, I hate to say it, but kind of middle aged. Basically, you go through like having it in abundance as a kid and no barriers, and then it getting squashed, and then 20s like you whatever's happening in 20s, like you're just doing stuff, and then you kind of start to lose it again. Inhibitions, like I think personally anyway.
In
like,
your 20s or
in 30s and like later you start to kind of care less again.
Yeah, yes, okay. And I thought you were saying the opposite.
That's why sometimes you get these old people that just do in the best way possible, they don't give a fuck.
I love them.
And they're jokes.
And that's why I'm attracted to children and old people.
There you go. Cut out the middle crap.
Yeah, but then I don't think I lost that's something I actually don't think I lost that in my late teens. I was confused as to why everyone was playing and also I think I have my own neurodivergence. So I suspect I might have like autism and a bunch of other stuff, but I would always observe social situations and very much an observer to understand why did they react that way or why they do that way. And I'm always just watching how people react in social situations. And there was a specific time during my when I started blogging, so 14 to 18, where the friends that I had at school that were a lot more free and expressive started to shrink and become like, oh, I want to be cool. I have a very strong resistance to coolness or because to me it's like a cage, and I don't like it. I don't like when you have to be something that you're not, or you have to play a character. Yeah. And I think when I saw that happening in late teens, early 20s, I couldn't understand what was going on and why people were doing this. And it made, if anything, I had a reaction that I can see as disgust. It was like, ugh. And especially when like my female friends were like trying to chase guys and trying to be something. Oh yeah, I'm like, ugh.
That's not you. Yeah, you're not being yourself.
I can't, like, I would rather not have anyone fancy me and not have any friends that were quote unquote cool than have to play. And don't get me wrong, early teens, so like 14, I maybe tried for a week to be like what I saw as normal.
Play these roles.
But I just couldn't keep it up. So for me, I've always been resistant, very like, I can't find the right word, but basically resistant to any sort of pretense of self. And I kept that very close to like a true self, even if it's repulsive to other people. Because some people don't like being don't like the expression of anything different. No. And I don't.
A lot of people, like a general kind of like the mass, like the general kind of population don't like. I think that's to do with evolution and like anything a bit different isn't scary, right for the tribe. Like the tribe's got to have this and and like
you don't want to be ostracized.
Yeah, which is a shame because we live in a different age now.
Yeah. But going back to the kids and old people thing, I have a lot of friends who are older, like mid 50s, late 50s, and they all say the like same thing, especially women who are in their late 50s, in the sense that, you do, there is that stereotype is true that like as you get older, you just give less of a shit. And
it's very freeing.
It's very freeing. And I think that it's a shame that I think people in their mid 20s or teenagers, mid 20s, early 30s, whatever, there's like so much potential in this period, but it's squandered by the lack of.
The thing is, the phrase "youth is wasted on the young" springs to mind.
Yes, exactly.
Which I didn't like as a youth. I'm like, whatever.
What do you mean?
But now I'm kind of like, I get it.
Yeah.
It's because you've got so much potential physically.
Yes.
Because you can do a lot. And you can have late nights and it doesn't affect you. And
you can have Haribos and Milano's.
Yeah, you can wrap Haribos in cold meat and you're cool.
Yeah.
But then you just don't have the two aren't linked. You don't have the wisdom yet and all that kind of thing. So yeah, 100%. But it's just the way it is, and it's like that for a reason.
Yeah. And I think that, like, for me, although I didn't try and be someone that I wasn't, I had a problem of I didn't understand what it was that I was. I wasn't trying to actively change myself, but I was like not able to have like a toolkit, mental health toolkit to maintain my swings, because I'm someone whose hormones, like in terms of like my cycle, affects everything that I do. Like I plunge into depression during my luteal phase, and then like during my the phase after my period, I'm like, okay, I can do it. Everything's, and I thought I had bipolar when I was a teenager.
That's really interesting.
Turns out I didn't. It was PMDD.
Yeah. Okay.
So I, as a late teen, like I struggled with mental health from when I started my period in year 5. So I was 8, 9 when I started my period, and it was like from that place I had like suicidal ideation. I was not, and my parents are Nigerian Christian pastors. They're like, what's going on with my child?
Yeah, right.
Her sisters never did this. Like, what's going on with this kid? Like, she's acting.
And they were looking to religion for answers.
Exactly. They were just like, just smile. God loves you. Be happy.
Yeah,
and I was like, I'm going to jump off a cliff.
Oh, God, yeah.
So it was just a lot of like pain. I think my childhood had a lot of like misunderstanding and pain, and not understanding what was going on in my body, mentally, spiritually, everything, and feeling pressures from all sides of the cultures that I was in the middle of. So like school, Western culture, Nigerian, Christian, pressured traditional culture, like, and also like race played a part of it, and like the pressures of what it means to be Black. And then also I lived in a very white area, and Preston, of course, I was the only Black kid in the school. So there was just all these things happening, and I didn't have the tools to understand what was going on, number one, and then how to like navigate myself through
manage,
it.
navigate, process.
Yeah. And parents are kind of like the the teachers. You pass on the tools to a kid who doesn't have the understanding, but if your parents haven't gone through their own sort of self-discovery, they don't have the right tools maybe to teach you. So I couldn't learn from my parents, not because they had a lack of love. They loved me so much and I love them so much, but they just didn't understand me, and I couldn't understand myself because I didn't have the tools for that. So
do you think it would be like a good idea for schools to literally in the curriculum have just even a basic teaching of mental tools to help kids, because not all kids are going to need that, but there'll be one or two people in the class that will just really benefit from that kind of education.
Mate, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And then even the kids that don't need it will know how to help the kids that do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just better for everyone.
I like if we start talking about the school system how I think it's so fucked up that the way that we even like school should be a space where you create the humans that you're gonna put out into the world that are gonna be well-rounded and knowledgeable, and that you give them the incentive to continue living. There's a reason why I think, as you get out of the school system, you become an adult, like purposelessness, if that's a word. A word? I think I added a couple more S's. Like becomes like people feel a lack of meaning in their life, and you get this like existentialism that a lot of people start to have, especially in their adult years, because you don't like, what is the point? Why am I actually here? All these questions. And I think
because also there's such a mixed message of like, follow your dreams, do what you want to do in life, but it's got to be within the hours of 9 to 5, and it's got to be behind a desk, and you've got to make sure that you have a mortgage, and you've got to make sure that you have kids by this age. So it's like, well, then it's not do what you want and like chase your dreams, is it?
There isn't even like a space to explore, as you said, like difference. How can lives be lived that isn't in this, confines of what that society has told us for like hundreds of years now of like, school, graduate, marriage, kids. But
also, let's be real, like the reason why there's a lot of people from financially privileged backgrounds in art and creativity is because they have the freedom from financial constraints to explore it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's easy for Agatha to become an oil painter, fine artist.
Not Agatha.
I know, do you know what I mean? She's pretty good though. But she, it's easier for her because she doesn't have to pay rent, and she doesn't have to do a side job, and
I could go on about this for so long, because because I've lived in sort of I don't know what to call it, like the middle ground of these different cultures. So like I came from super working class background. In Tanzania, we were like minted for a year. So I had a year of like wealth. And then in Preston, my mom's a cleaner, and like we're like, okay, trying to make ends meet kind of thing. But and then I went to grammar school when I was because I got the grades, went for sixth form, I went to 2 years in grammar school. And then being around, especially in the UK, class is such a big component of like how life ends up for you. And I don't think it's explored enough, because me and my best friend went to the working class all-girls school. We looked at the alumni for the school that I went to, the working class school and the grammar school. The working class school, we got teacher, hairdresser. And there's nothing wrong with these these jobs. It's just comparatively the opportunities that are given. And also that school told us, just try and get C's, girls. Just try and get C's. Oh, if no one was going to Cambridge. Like if I didn't go to the sixth form, I wouldn't have seen the other side of it. Like I only managed to like do really well academically because my parents, like there's Nigerian parents and families tend to be very studious, put a lot of emphasis on education just cause. So it's like I knew I was going to go to uni because I didn't have a choice. plus I think academically, I just did well academically without trying. So I was lucky in that sense as well. So in terms of schools, that's the reason why I was able to go to the grammar school, because of the grades. But they were like, oh, don't put any universities. My friend that stayed told me that they said, don't put any universities that require AAB or any sort of A's, just in case. So just put 2 of the low ones, 1 of the, like, they were
aim low.
They said aim. They said, you're not getting anywhere in life, girls. Aim low.
Aim low.
And then I went to the grammar school, and the teachers are like, okay, we're doing Cambridge prep, Oxbridge prep, guys, like, like they were pushing us.
And they're aiming high.
You're gonna be the next generation. I did politics society. I was so shocked when I went to the grammar school, and they were telling me in my break times, people chose to go to politics society in their lunch break.
That wasn't happening in my school.
I said, what the fuck? What? So it's just a complete different culture of expectation. And in both schools, I would say that, like, I still think the education system is flawed, because it's what we're accounting for, what we're testing for is memory. We're not actually like putting in the why. Kids are learning these things, but not really understanding the essence behind the human story. I think there's like a big narrative we're missing.
It's like saying, like, you know, you can say what happened and when in history, but it's about the why. And not repeating it again. You know,
because then you're not connecting the dots either. Like, like one thing
history is taught purposefully badly in the UK.
I didn't take history.
Well, I mean, just in school, just secondary school. Whatever. Like,
it omits a lot of of the stories that play into
all the bad stuff.
Yeah, all the bad stuff. It's like, listen, the Tudors.
But it's not the truth.
Dress up as the Tudors.
It's not real. You know, it's like, you can't just teach good things about history, because that's not the history.
It's not the full story. And I think it's so important to connect the dots between history, art, philosophy, economic. I can't say economics. That always slips me up. How do I say it?
Economics. Economics.
I always say economic.
You want to say economist? And
economics. But like, between all these subjects, I think when I did that re-educate in February, I started to connect the dots between, like, even our emotions and history and, like, love, all these, like, airy-fairy stuff, and the hard maths and all these, there's all links. Like, it's all like the psilocybin?
Psilocybin.
There we go.
Psilocybin. You just reverse the two things. Yeah.
And like how things are connected through a root network. I think that these subjects that we're taught at school, we're taught it in isolation. Study maths, get a good grade. Study history. I'm like, no, there's the reason why these subjects exist, because they're teaching us something about what we've an ancient history of human knowledge, and it should be revered in a way that it's personal. It's not just, I need to get an A. It's like, this is my story, my essence.
That's how it would have been delivered. Literally, if you're in a tribe, sat around a fire, this is your story,
exactly.
our story. You know, it would have been delivered like that, but it's not. You're right. It's just like, this person did this, and that's why the British Empire's great.
Literally.
Cool, like, you know.
Yeah, it's shocking, and I think there's like so much more that can actually be done, and I think that's why I'm trying to set that re-educate up, because I think that if it's not going to be done, there needs to be campaigning that changes.
So talk to us more about the re-educate thing. Like, what's that about?
Basically, I want it to become like a school for adults, but not like you enroll and you like da-da-da. It's like a lifelong learning.
Like opting in, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. You opt in whenever you can. So the premise is it provides a structure for adult, like, learning and activism long-term, forever.
Great.
So you get like... so you get like a 3-month... there'll be 3-month terms every, like, 2 3-month terms each year. So in the start of the year, we pick a topic, we pick the materials, so a YouTube videos, podcasts, and reading. So there's a core, it's basically at uni, a core material and then extra reading if you have time. But as adults, we don't have time. So I try to make a timetable that's like, if you spend 10 minutes reading this on Monday and this. So fitting in the reading 1 month, the next month we discuss. So either we discuss virtually or we have like a school thing where we meet up in a cafe and we talk about what we've
accessible.
learned. Yeah, that's the main thing. It's like, it started off in 2020 because I watched the George Floyd stuff unravel and I saw all the black squares and I saw all this like promising of like, we need to do better and just felt the emptiness of those promises. I was like, even for me reflecting inwardly, what am I doing in this like global community? Like, how am I like, donating here and there? Like, it feels fickle. It feels like, you know, when you see, what's it? Aid, politically aid is just like, oh, we'll give you food or give you money. And like, it's like, no.
The good example is UK aid going to Palestine whilst UK bombs are being sold to Israel.
Exactly. It's like, it's an illusion of fixing a problem where in reality, what you're doing is just a little plaster that peels off every now and again and you replace it. Like structurally, you've bombarded this, any sort of like, help that it can be self-sufficient. So instead of just putting that plaster on, it's like, where's the long-term commitment?
And I think education is a good place because it's literally everything in the whole world. Every problem goes back to education. Like that's the root and the starting point that you can create change.
I agree.
It's the only.
But I think that with what
place to start.
So with Re-Educate, what I clocked when I was like, I didn't sleep for like 4 days when the idea came to me was that like, it needs to be holistic, in my opinion, in the sense that you can read books, and it's not getting anywhere. What like I believe is necessary is education linked in with community, which is the discussion part, and not just online. Oh, I'm sharing this post. Like, no, let's actually organize, let's meet together and talk. And if you think of like how in during the Enlightenment period, one of the things I noticed was that these societies that were being formed that brought into reality what we see as capitalism today, because they were like economists, group of economists who had a particular school of thought. I've forgotten the name of the school of thought now. It's like, I think it was like German school of thought or whatever. They came together, Hayek, something, Friedrich Hayek, I don't remember. Anyway, they came together and they were like, we believe in the free market, we believe in X, Y, and Z. And they came and they talked, they created a story of what they thought society could look like. And I think stories are so powerful. Like, stories move people into action. Like, it's the precursor before you get actual change. So community stories.
It's the only way to create action in someone else without it happening to them.
Yes, exactly.
It's the only way.
It's like, even if you didn't have the same life experience, if you tell a convincing, like,
as long as someone's got empathy, which is another thing that's
another thing. That's another thing that, like, to be honest, I'm a very empathetic person, but I was in apathy even when I did politics at uni. Because I did politics at uni, but then I was just doing it because I wanted my parents to be happy, like, and I wanted to get a first for them so they can say, my daughter got a first. And I'm like, okay. But I didn't take anything in.
But did you enjoy politics? I mean, because you talk about politics, whether you know that or not, I don't know. You talk about politics a lot, but it's not in your work. As in your online creative work.
It's in Re-Educate. It was never in my work, but Re-Educate was like the resurgence of me, of getting rid of that apathy. Because after... I love the whys behind people, and I'm a natural observer. So I'm like, I love understanding people and understanding like what's the best way to build a society. And I like knowledge, and I just, I have that natural curiosity for like life and understanding. But at uni, it didn't translate. I think the education system is fucked because we're not thinking, I need to understand the actual whys behind it to want to learn. Whereas my why at that time was for my parents, and that was it wasn't taking in the material of what I was learning. It was like I was looks maxing the essays, like basically like, oh, the beginning, like this is what I need to do in the intro to get the grades. Like I wasn't really thinking about the contents of what I was writing. So it wasn't until after I graduated 2020 when Re-Educated start that I started actually reading like my old dissertations and like all that kind of stuff and being like, oh, okay, I actually am absorbing it in properly because I care now. And I was, as I said, I was like empathetic as a person in my day to day, but when it came to like a global, like being a citizen of the world or like the environment, like people used to care the environment, and I was just like, like I actually just didn't care. If I'm being really, really frank, I was like, yeah, it's bad, but you know, whatever, we're all gonna die anyway, it's fine. I was just so apathetic. It wasn't until I started thinking about like how we're all connected as humans and the human story and like just feeling like I'm a citizen of more than just my family.
Have you done mushrooms before?
You would think so, right?
Yes, that sounds like it.
You would think so. I've never done any drugs. Honestly, apart from alcohol.
Drugs,
No, but the reason why
it's a term I don't like to use with mushrooms, but
okay, but like I feel like mushrooms, like my friends and like ex-partners all did mushrooms, all talk about this connectivity that they get from, and I'm like, it's like a spirit, and I feel like if it wasn't for my upbringing, I would probably be like a hippie mushroom taking woman in like the forest, whatever.
There's
but
still
like,
time.
Never know. But I'm like, I had in February when I was looking into capitalism and getting more into the research and stuff, I had what I think was a spiritual awakening. And at that time, all my friends were concerned because they thought, have you taken something? Like, it sounds like you're on something. But it's just because I was connecting everything together. I was like, my eyes finally opened to the reality of the situation that we're all in and how connected everything is. And at that point, I thought, this is probably how people who have those spiritual awakenings when they are on mushrooms feel. But like, I've not taken anything. I'm just sitting in my bed being like, it's all connected. I was like, and I started looking into like pantheism. And I don't know how I got there because I genuinely was agnostic.
What's pantheism?
Pantheism is like a philosophical slash spiritual belief in the fact that everything is literally God. God means like meaning. So everything is
energy.
Yes, basically like everything from and it links to animism, which is also says like, you know, even the materials, the earth, the plants, even plastic, everything that exists is part of a singular entity.
I mean, it's kind of true.
And I was like, I didn't know that
Can't
existed.
argue with it.
Literally,
But, you know,
I didn't know that was. I was coming from agnostic place, just going, oh, what is capitalism? Let's actually try and understand it together, guys. To we're all connected, and like I feel like I was looking at plants different. I felt like actually connected spiritually to the things that exist, and I think from that point, I cared enough to actually. I understood why you would care about the environment more because I was like, do you know, it sparked this, like if you don't feel awake and connected to things, you're not gonna be empathetic. You can only empathize with the things that you really feel. If that makes sense.
And kind of modern capitalist society almost purposefully disconnects you from nature.
100%.
In order for it to survive.
Yeah.
As a machine that uses and kills nature and like, you know,
it's essential to it because at the end of the day, you can't get value from the things you can make yours. Like you have to be able to be inept in order to go and buy things. Like our desire, our wants and our desires come from a place of also it gets exacerbated.
But that's the theory about governments making. Sorry to interrupt, but it's the theory that as to why governments made mushrooms illegal in the 60s is because mushrooms turn on a part of connection that aids like caring about the environment and not being into capitalism at all. And so like literally capitalists were like, can we just ban this because it's not going to help us? We need people to conform. Do you know what I mean? It's really interesting.
It does when you start to like look into it, it does makes sense. And it was,
I've had, I've never had conversations with plants and trees like I have on mushrooms, Literally like they're characters.
Yeah,
they become characters,
people,
and you're like, okay, cool. Like I see you.
Yeah, no,
it's really interesting. Not literal conversations, but like conversations of just I don't know, noticing them.
Yeah,
and it's weird. It's such a weird thing.
It's not weird though.
It's not though.
It's not weird because when I was having that, when I was like in that moment away, I was like conversing with what I thought was just life. Like it's life. Like we're all we all have this essence to us. And why, I don't know. I don't think it's weird to be aware of reality, basically.
No, it's
what
not.
is. And yeah, I think that it's interesting you said that, like, because I didn't know about the thing of mushrooms being banned because of maybe that connection
basically,
and stuff. But like one of the things that I was spurred to think of is like how like we don't think of how things are actually made. Like the process of creation is something that we are super removed from. And
meat eating in the meat industry, a lot of us would eat less meat, if no meat at all, if we were involved in that process.
Yes, exactly. And like there's a ritual that I think I assume, this could be wrong, but in like the past, I feel like killing an animal or like this life and death cycle that we are all kind of engaging in and a part of, you have a ritual of honoring what it is that you're actually doing, and you're aware. Whereas like getting Milano slices, which cow died? Which multiple cows?
Yeah,
do you know
what
I mean?
Yeah.
For me there isn't I didn't have a reverence for the process.
No, it's like industry is the reason that we're able to be so successful, but it's also the reason that it's going to be our downfall.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. Like we're the process of production, we've nailed that.
It's extreme.
It's nailed to a point where it's now harming us.
Rein it in.
Rein it in. And then I started looking into degrowth stuff, and I was like, I didn't like. That's kind of when I had to take a step back because I wasn't sleeping, and I was like, and and now I feel like less awake than what I was in February, but I think I needed it so that I don't actually get crazy. I started looking to degrowth stuff, and then it stopped because I think that's what it's like. Production is not a bad thing. One thing I clocked when I did the research was that like it's all about balance. Like it really is. And production value, which essentially that's what money symbolizes. It symbolizes this is a valuable thing. But the overproduction of stuff and putting too much emphasis on value rather than meaning and this is special, but why?
I read something really cool the other day. It said as far as we know, there are multiple in their thousands planets where it rains diamonds. Like they're aware of lots and lots and lots of planets where this happens really frequently. Diamonds rain down on that planet as part of the rain system that they have. We don't know any other planet with trees. We hold diamonds so like up here in terms of value and trees down here. And it's mental. That comparison was just really cool. I was like, it really kind of puts things in perspective, actually. Yeah. And where we're at, you know. I've got a question for you.
Okay, go on.
If you could make a 1-minute film that everyone on Earth would watch, what would it be about?
Oh my God.
1 minute.
1 minute. Oh, I don't know.
It's a hard one.
Yeah, it's hard because it has to be condensed.
Yeah. But that's also why it's good.
Yeah. I think it would have, I'm not really sure what specifically, but it would have to be something that talks about what it means to be human. Like the meaning to life.
Wow. Cool. In 1 minute.
In 1 minute.
Okay.
Whatever that looks like, I don't even know yet, but I think I would want someone to watch it and be like, oh, okay, I understand why I'm alive now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like the best piece of art that's ever existed, basically.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm
that
aiming
sounds
high.
Yeah. What's something that you've always wanted to create but have never had the time or courage to start?
Ooh. I'm starting now, to be honest, but
Yeah.
like I want to create an exhibition.
Cool.
Yeah, because I do
How would
oil.
that manifest in terms of like medium, like?
So I do oil paintings.
Okay, yeah.
Not oil paintings. I do acrylic, but I'm starting to paint with oil pastels.
Yep, I saw that.
So yeah, so I would want to make that into a exhibition.
Cool.
But I've always kind of created from a safe space, which is like my room, and it's very insular, and it only projects out through social media or online, whereas I actually want to bring it into the physical space and have a place there my friends and family and people who support me can actually like come to, and we can talk. And
do you think it's really important that you create in your bedroom, in that room, or would you be open to like working in a separate studio? Like,
I would be open to it. I just haven't, like, that's my comfort zone.
Sure, that's kind of what I was aiming at.
Yeah,
like, you know.
I think I would be. I think I'm at a place in my creative career where I'm now ready to try things that scare me.
Yeah.
So
cool.
See how I would create in a studio would be one of them, I think.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Just kind of moving on to a couple of like wrapping up questions, really.
Cool.
We've had a pretty good conversation.
I loved the conversation.
And I think we should probably do it again because we've got
agree.
a lot more to talk about.
We'll do another 1 hour on mushrooms.
Yeah, on mushrooms.
Yeah.
Okay, you're on.
I'm down.
You're on.
I'm
You're
ready.
on. What's the most satisfying part of being T-Day?
Oh.
The artist in this moment.
Okay. I think the most satisfying part of me is my ability to confront my emotions. I think it's hard, but satisfying is what I would describe it as, because there's a process, and I feel like I'm not dissociated as much, and I process my emotions through my creativity, and it feels like cathartic. So it feels satisfying to be able to now do that in a conscious way.
And I think you're leading a good example too for people.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, because I think that's what people are connecting with, you know. It's like, oh wow, she's good at that. I can be good at that too.
Yes,
hopefully.
That's the hope.
What's one message or feeling you hope people take away from experiencing your work? If we didn't just cover that, I think maybe we'd even just covered that.
Really? What did I say this?
Oh, we were talking about the connection with
self and
with
stuff.
an ability to be honest with emotions.
I know what the answer is. My answer would be understanding, whether it's understanding of themselves or understanding the world, or like they just feel a little clearer.
And that goes back to the 1 minute film you would make
exactly
to show the world.
I think I've always told my friends, my best friends, that the crux of my existence is creativity, connection, and community. I think those 3 C's are like me. So it's like if I make something and it doesn't feel connected, and for me connectivity means meaning, like you understand life or self or community or whatever. I think if it doesn't touch that, usually then the work, I think, for me is bogus. If I'm creating something that's like, oh, well, drink this, right? If I'm selling something that doesn't have like a heart, like those 3 touch points, then it doesn't feel like it's me.
Yeah, fair enough. Cool. Listen, today, thank you so much for coming on.
Alex.
And we'll see you soon.
Yeah, see you soon.
Cheers.
Part 2 coming soon.
Yeah.
Get the Milano out.
Thanks for watching Toast and Jams. If you enjoyed this episode, hit like and subscribe to stay updated. And to hear our guest tune selection, check out the playlist or the link in the description. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, of course, and see you next time. This has been a joint production between Toast and Jams and Allan Brothers Films.